Welcome to the Spiritual Capitalist Show. I'm your host, King. I'm joined by Larry King Paul today. We're going to discuss how I believe that he's behaving as a spiritual capitalist. And before we begin, I want to make sure that everyone understands exactly what is spiritual capitalism so that we can really be clear on what that is so you would understand where we're going with this because we really want to create a movement around the ideology of spiritual capitalism. So again, the short is this: spiritual capitalism is based on a book by Michael E Hendren, which is a philosophy that intimates that spiritual power of love combined with empowerment, liberation, and transformation with capitalism, quantum performance, productivity, and astute financial management. It's about managing from the head and leading with the heart by integrating the power and intellect of the mind, the transformational power of love. And so that's what spiritual capitalism is. There's 10 commandments that define what spiritual capitalism is. I have those behind me, but I always like to start with just the first one. I'm not going to go through each one of them right now, but we'll go through each of the commandments throughout the show and talk about how what Larry is doing kind of relates to each commandment. But I always like to begin with the first being business is a spiritual experience. Because once you understand that, and once you wrap your mind around that and agree with that, I should say, more importantly, not just intellectually understand it, begin to apply it and live it, it transforms how you do business right from the start. So, with that being said, Larry, let's begin. Let's talk about how you approach business as a spiritual experience within the industry that you're actually working within.
I got you. And so I approach business, I think, a little bit different than others because of my foundation, right? Like my foundation is accounting. And for every business that operates, you need an accountant because you have to report your financial statements in a certain kind of way. And so just from being an accountant who sees businesses, financial information and things like that, and you can see the difference between success and failure, I seen patterns, right, of certain things, right? Like as an accountant, we have to list everything you do as a line item, and you start to learn how that business is functioning based on that. So my foundation is a little bit different because I went to school for accounting, and I always approach business as an accountant, right? So the first thing I think about is your statements, and the reason why I approach business that way is because most people, when they start businesses, they want money, right? They need more money to operate and do the things that they want to do in their business. And a lot of people don't know, but the reason why a lot of people are intimidated to apply for loans and things like that is because it's not that easy, because they don't understand money that well. They don't understand the language that has to be communicated, right? So as an accountant, I understand what the bank is looking for. I understand if you're trying to do a grant, I understand what the government is looking for based on what they required from me on the paperwork, right? So for me, what I like to teach is do things the right way in business. Everything is tracked. If you try to do something the wrong way, somebody like me is going to catch you. We catch you every time. And so for me, I grew up in Trenton, New Jersey. My community, a lot of times we cut corners. We do things, we skip steps and things like that. So my approach to business is don't skip steps. Figure out the steps to the business that you want to create, and then follow those steps, and you will be successful. If you try to skip one, you're going to delay the success of your business because you're going to get penalized, right? If we were doing a football team, you could have a great quarterback, but if y'all keep getting penalties and keep going backwards, it's not going to help the team, right? And so it's the same thing in business, right? When you get a business, you're a team. It's not just you anymore. You're saying, I'm in the commerce of sharing money, and I'm about to build a team, right? And so it's a way that you have to communicate, but also understanding the government and the IRS are not your enemies. They have a function in society to communicate where the money is. And so, when you don't look at people as threatening, or when you don't look at things as evil, you're able to take advantage of what they bring in the to the community. So I do a lot of work with the government. My business just got qualified to apply and get government contracts and things like that. So I see the things that we don't like in our system. I try to learn them, and I teach that aspect to that industry, because I work with a few different companies, right? Like I work with a media company. I have an account with a charity, with a financial company. So it's different industries, but the good thing about what I do is money's reported the same way all the time, right? So my job is easy because I say the same thing, no matter what industry I am in, no matter what business I'm talking to. You have to report your money the same way, because that is the principles that America has set up. And so I feel like I have a cheat code because of it, but that's kind of where my foundation sets at. Getting people to understand what business is really about. It's the exchange of money. You're getting into the exchange of money. If you want to get into business and you don't want to get into the exchange of money, you want to do it from the heart, start a nonprofit. And so that's kind of where I start off with people, and then I ask what their goals are. But my business philosophy is, if you love what you're doing and you are consistent, you'll be successful. You just need a good plan, and I help build those plans.
Now, when you say that, you use the term help quite a bit in your description.
Mm.
So, in helping, are you helping as a coach, or are you helping as a consultant? And what ways, when you say help, that you're helping businesses?
I guess all of those terms, right, all circle back to teacher, right? And so I say help when I teach people things that are going to help them that they did not know. So that's what I mean. If you hear me say the word help, um, you know, people don't really like to be helped too much. And so, I don't like to give stuff to people and things like that. I just like to give information, because for most people, that's all they need: a little bit of connected dots, a little bit of information. So most of the time when you hear me say I help somebody or something, I probably just told them something they didn't know before.
Okay. All right. So now the show is Spiritual Capitalism.
Mhm.
You see, I'm advocating heavily about the importance of spiritual capitalism. A lot of people say that that's an oxymoron, that capitalism is not spiritual, but it's about how you apply it. It's about how you go about carrying out your capitalistic ways, right?
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, capitalism is really about taking a product or a service and adding value to it, and then you're profiting from those margins from a very simplistic viewpoint. So
Mhm.
when I use the term spiritual capitalism, what comes to mind to you before we get into Michael E Hendren's definition and all that? But just that title, that terminology, what do you think about when you hear that?
Um, I like to use words for the definition that they have, because we can make words mean whatever we want them to mean, right? So when I hear spiritual capitalism, I hear using your morality with the way you use your money, or using your money with your morality. They go hand in hand. Money is spiritual. If you have an abundance of anything, you normally are righteously spiritually. You know what I mean? And so I think they go hand in hand. Capitalism is just a form, it's just a system, right? You're a system specialist. Capitalism, just like communism, just like imperialism, those are systems. And so I don't look at it as good or bad. We get to participate in that system how we want. But when we add spiritual in there, there's a righteousness that comes with that word. There's a morality and a level of code. So when I hear spiritual capitalism, I feel like that's what they should have called it from the beginning. you know.
Yeah, but see, unfortunately, most people use capitalism, companies, corporations, only to maximize profit,
Mm,
and that profit maximization is usually at the cost of providing value,
mm,
and definitely providing benefit to the community, stakeholders in the community. That's one of the things that people really have an issue with capitalism in itself. Like, let's take a company like Pepsi or Coca-Cola,
mm-hmm,
right? Now, you can not to debate the product itself, whether it's healthy for you or not,
mm-hmm,
but just look at they're one of the largest contributors of plastic,
Mm,
being used in the environment.
mm-hmm,
Because people throw out their their bottles they've drank it and they just throw it on the street, so that eventually gets thrown in landfills or thrown in the ocean, and that contributes to the issues around climate issues that we're dealing with, pollution, right? Pollution.
mm-hmm,
So them not having a spiritual aspect of it, they don't even change that philosophy. They just, well, we just deal with it as it is. Again, I'm saying that from my understanding of it. I don't know. Now, some companies bring out what they call, uh, corporate social responsibility, and then they'll say they have these policies and practices. But at the end of the day, capitalism, when you add the spiritual component to it, you really, again, going with the first definition that, or the first commandment, I'm sorry, that business is a spiritual experience. See, you create your business with that in mind, as opposed to say, I'm going to create a business to make money.
mm,
I'm going to create a, that's kind of the difference between a spiritual capitalist thinking, the context. You say, I'm going to create a business because I see a need and I want to create value. And then creating that need and creating value, you charge money for your services or your product. And that value that you create, your profits that you make, is commensurate with the value that you're creating. You know
mm,
what I'm saying? And that people actually now love your product, they love your service, they enjoy it. Like, for example, I'll give you another example just quickly on that point. Now, a lot of people have issues with Amazon as in the way they treat their employees. I've
mm-hmm,
often debated with folks around that, because Amazon's focus is really about giving the customers the best experience possible with Amazon. So
mm-hmm,
you can actually click on a website, buy a product, and get it delivered today, the same day, within 5 hours or so.
mm,
Now, to me, you can't really deliver that kind of customer value. And then at least I don't see how you can do that without having some employee issues, because employees want to take 15-minute breaks. Employees don't want to work too hard, things of that nature. And then
mm-hmm.
Amazon's approach is, well, we're going to replace you with robots. And then people say, well, that's an issue. So anyway, I'm just using that as an example of what I see as a company that's committed to giving value and creating value. And
Mm.
that's why Amazon's so successful.
I I think Amazon's success. I think business. What I've evolved it to now. I believe we like you asked me a question the last time I was on with you, and you said, "What is my purpose?" And I believe people's businesses are their purpose. And so that is where you're going to create, that is where you're going to lead, that is where you're going to share with the world, right? And if you have a good impact, you're going to be successful. I don't think rich people are rich because they wanted to be rich. I think they're rich because they had an idea, executed that idea, and the reaction was money. Um, some people are set up in better financial situations than others, but capitalism is not a seesaw, right? So one person's wealth doesn't affect another's. I now in industries it does, right? Because people are competing for the same dollars, right? If I'm a photographer, it's another photographer over there. We kind of competing for the same dollars in the same location, right? But what I mean is there's not a finite amount of money. And so because of that, nobody's really taking your money. We really got to try to get people to understand that money is not important. People are important. And when you bring value to yourself, you create more money in our system. The reason why America has the biggest capitalist system, I mean, it has the biggest buyer's market, is because we utilize our people in our country the best. We have the best confidence. We It may stop at adults, but to a point, our kids dream the best. We feel we're the best. We watch the Olympics, we always win. It's a mindset that's instilled at this point. And so our business follows. Like we like, you know what I mean? We can kind of create our purpose, and then once you see the proof, it kind of becomes reality. You know what I mean? And so if people think that big corporations participating in capitalism are keeping their employees down. Well, I got a question for you. Is that company, does Coca-Cola and Pepsi stop their employees from starting a soda company?
No, not to my
Exactly.
knowledge.
There you go. And so, you have a chance to compete. And the thing about big business is it's harder to focus when I have 1,000 employees or 10,000 employees than it is when I have 5 or 15. So it's easier to focus on your processes when you're a little bit smaller and you feel more appreciated. So what I tell employees who don't feel appreciated is consider starting your own business, because in the Bible it says if you want to be wealthy, you gotta start your focus on thy own business. You know what I mean? And so some people might think that means mind your business. I don't think that's what it means though. I think that means focus literally on your business. Be serious sometimes, have organized thoughts, and then present them to the world. A lot of us think so many good thoughts and stuff, but we keep it to ourselves because our confidence isn't there. So that's why I connect business with purpose, because once you start a business, you're about to start sharing your idea with people. You know what I mean? And if that idea catches on, like the cell phone, like the internet, you're going to help a lot of people and you're going to make a lot of money.
All right. Well, what I want to do now is get more specific around the type of businesses that you have created. Now,
Okay.
you came up with a term that I wasn't familiar with, and I want to kind of learn more about that, and I want you to share that more with our listening audience today as well. And correct me if I'm saying it wrong, but certified ganjier or
It's certified ganjier.
certified ganjier.
Yes, it's like a wine sommelier, right?
Right,
Like how they
right.
evaluate wine, go to the wine vineyards and things like that. So cannabis has been criminalized. It has been targeted in our community and things like that, but it is not like that anymore. So they have programs where you can go and learn about the history of the plant. You can go and learn about the growing process. You can go and learn that cannabis wasn't always illegal and they had a market set up, and you can actually go and see the trade, the history of cannabis's influence. And so what I decided to do was, cannabis has always been a part of my life. It's a part of my culture, and I've never run from that. And so once it started to become legal, I encourage people to do things the right way. So I looked around for programs, credible people, and a few of the teachers from YouTube videos and articles I seen and things like that. I knew who they were, and I respected them for the fields at which they were going to teach. Some of them created some terms and the thing. Some of them created processes on how to grow. Some of them have some of the most successful farms. And so I took the Gangier program, and I met some of the most amazing individuals around the world. To this point, I think it's only about 165 of us. So it is not a big group.
Worldwide.
Yeah, worldwide. We had, yeah, it's not a lot of people. This is our third class coming in. We've had about 400 registrants. Like they bring in about 400 or 500, 250 every year, but you have to pass at the end of the year. And if you don't pass, I mean, you don't get certified. So it is not that easy. You do have to take a course based, it's not just about, am I gonna get high? No, man, we done learned this thing is medicine. We done learned it treats and does different things. So it's more so about, how does this affect my body? What is this going to do to me? And you start to learn about things like terpenes. And so, now I know, let's say one of my friends had a hangover, right? And they had a stomach ache. Well, now I know there's a terpene called humulene out there. And when you take humulene, it'll actually settle that stomach ache, right? And so now it got bigger to me than just, consuming for fun. It was like, oh, we can help people. And again, my brand has always been that. My family's history is all about helping. We have a community center in my neighborhood. I always knew I was gonna help, just didn't know in what way. And so by becoming a certified ganji, I met a bunch of people who felt like me. And at first, we didn't know exactly what the heck we were going to do. We're professionals in the space, but our market is so new. And it's like, what are we doing? And then I start to research, and I say, oh, we got to build this market. And when you're doing market creation, all that means is you have to find professionals from other industries and bring them here to build this, right? Cannabis never had accountants. Cannabis never had engineers. Cannabis never had systems processing and management and things like that. So you need those qualified individuals to come into the space and help build that. And that's kind of what Gangier program did. So I have met people who specialize in genetics, from they can, create animals, and they have come over to help understand this plant better. I know people in politics who have been like, you know what, forget red and blue. I'm going to focus on legalizing this, So it's a lot of good people who have shifted their focus from what they were traditionally doing to help this market, because a lot of people have been unjustly targeted in this market, right? And so when we help build it up, just like the alcohol market, if you go inside a liquor store, nobody has any type of mindset towards it or anything else, but that was also prohibited at a point in time, right? And so it's just more so bringing credibility to the cannabis space, bringing professionals in and giving it a new image. It's time to elevate the cannabis market. It's not a drug addict, a hippie thing. It's a thing where a lot of people use it. A lot of regular people who go to work, people who are going to watch this podcast, young people, old people. And so we're just breaking the stigma. And that's I think the Gangiers, certified Gangiers, I think that's our main thing is we really want to break the stigma of what people feel cannabis users are and how we contribute. Since I've been 19 years old, I've used cannabis. So anybody who's known me since I went to college, anybody who's known me as a foster parent, or anybody who's known me as an accountant, yeah, I've been as good as I've been with this influence, you know what I mean? And so again, it's about breaking that stigma, letting people know this is not a good or a bad thing. You can use it in good and bad ways, but it is not, it doesn't, if you participate in this, it doesn't just make you a bad person. Just like if you drink, it doesn't make you a bad person, right? And so that's our main mission, bringing up the status of cannabis, and then also educating the community, man, because it is the plant is so much deeper than indica and sativa.
Well, when I think of a wine sommelier, I think of a person that's actually tasting wines, can actually get it, contract with different restaurants, different wineries to help really come up with a perfect blend, because they have their palate is trained to taste the different exotic berries and grapes that's comprised in that wine.
Mm-hmm.
But when you spoke of the ganja, uh, ganjane, I'm sorry, did I say it correctly this time?
Gangier. We're gonna get
Ganjier,
there. There we go.
Ganjier. All right, okay. You talked about a lot of advocacy work.
Mm-hmm.
So my question now is there a time or part of responsibilities as well where you kind of focus on sampling different marijuana strands and determining them, or even the CBD oil, looking at that and determining, is that a part of the responsibilities as well?
Absolutely. We actually have an app, what's called SAP, and it is our assessment tool. And so what we do, we actually go and we judge the appearance. It's actually a scale. So we can judge it from 0 to 100, and we rate it based on the appearance, based on the aroma, based on the effects, and so and based on the smell. And it does take about a good 40 minutes to go through the SAT, and then that's just evaluating and things like that. But yes, it even breaks it down to what kind of smells are you smelling. Are you smelling a gassy, a fuel, a floral? It makes you dive in and get into the intricacies. So yes, when I'm in Gangier mode, I probably look just like that guy who's holding the wine, smelling it and tasting it. It's the same thing. We kind of get and captured with the process. So there's a part where you got to do the dry hit. You got to taste your herb before you even light it. Some of these things are, everything in the sap is all about quality from the grower. There's things that the growers do that affect quality, and then there's things that the packages the packager and the manufacturers do that can affect quality. And as gangiers, based on the smell, based on the look, we can kind of tell you who, you know, who was keeping up with what. We also judge cannabis competitions, you know. Now people, I'm gonna tell you like this, nobody likes to be judged, okay? So you know, it's even still it's hard, right? Because you don't want to feel like, make people feel like, oh, I know cannabis better than you know, because that's not the vibe we're trying to give out. But when you study in an area more than people, what happens is you tend to know a little bit more about people, right? So we learn about the history, we learn about the circuit of cannabis, you know, how it started from China, how it went to Persia, how it went to France, and how it's influenced America right now, right? And so it's just more so about, you know, education, getting people to understand, because the more you understand it, the more you won't be scared about it, and you can see if and how it can help you. You know, I'm not a person here that says, oh, everybody try it and do it, because I know people who have different effects on different things. Our body chemicals also affect how it's going to affect us. You know what I mean? And so that's your CB1 and CB2 receptors. So when you get into cannabis, you got to become a scientist, because it has a lot to do with how it affects your body. You know what I mean? And then, you know, you have the cultivation side, right? Now that's growing it. And then in that process, you start to learn how connected the plant is with us, how similar the process is to a healthy human being goes into being a healthy plant. It's actually the exact same thing, but they need the exact opposite. You know, if I was working out really hard in the gym, right, I would probably need, if you gave me oxygen mask, I'll be good. But you know, with plants, they're CO2. They're better with that. Is are you good? You went mute there for a second. Still can't hear you. You on mute, King. I can't hear you. Oh no. Can't hear any. Oh, there you go.
How about now? Can you hear me
Yep.
now?
Yep, I got you.
All right. Yeah, me touching the mic caused some technical issues. I, you got a chance
It's
to hear
all right.
everything you said. My next
Okay.
question would be, I'm curious to know that within your responsibilities,
Hmm.
how or any of those target towards reform as it relates to legislation.
Yes. We have now, cannabis is further along in different states than it is in others, right? So like in a state like New Jersey, where we are very progressive, we have a CRC, and we're moving, you know, and doing things like that. Advocating for cannabis is not as needed in our state. But in a state like Virginia, right, or a state like Indiana, where they're still being targeted for this plant and things like that, we have advocacy groups there that are a part of like the thing. And being that we are a network, we all support what's going on, you know. So, you know, if I gotta go and support somebody in Michigan, that's going to mean something, you know what I mean? And that's kind of why we built the network. We are all in this network, we all have our own network, and when we come together, it just grows, you know what I mean? And so that was kind of the main thing, just growing the network, creating a safe space for people who want to learn about, even if you never did it. It's a stigma against learning about it, you know what I mean? Or even knowing, even being around it. And so we just want to make it comfortable for people to learn, you know what I mean? And again, I always preference it with saying I don't advocate anything but education. Learn about it, you know? And if you read something you don't like, don't do it. And if you read something you do like, try it, see if it'll help you.
What are some of the challenges, obstacles you have with this position?
Leadership and confidence. Cannabis users have been told we are wrong. We have been arrested, targeted, things like that. So now that it's an open market, the confidence and the vigor to grow the market is not as it's not there how it is in a lot of other new spaces, because just because of the history of the war on drugs. You know what I mean? So I think it's not just the mindset of people who don't consume. The people who do consume have a negative mindset of like the government. And in order to grow this market, you got to work with the government. You know what I mean? In order to change policies, in order to legalize things, you have to work with the government. And so that has been the hardest thing, going against the black market principles and coming into the legal space, because that is my main focus. I got a lot of friends I grew up who went to jail doing this exact thing. And if this was legal, they would have learned the steps and been able to be business owners. And so now that that's possible, that's what I want to do. You know, we can't change the past, but I can affect the future. And so I don't have to have kids going to jail for cannabis in the future if we do our work now. You know, so that's kind of how I think about it.
Let's talk about the business aspect of getting certified. What are
Okay.
some of the benefits with that?
Benefits. So let me tell you personally, right? Consulting. Consulting is professional educating. Okay. When you become a consultant, you can instruct, you can teach, you learn things there. You think you go for your own personal reasons, right? Like when I first wanted to go, I want to learn how to grow, right? But you get there and you learn processing, you learn manufacturing, you learn that you there's a system based on it, and there's sections. So it's not all one thing. You got growers, cultivators, you got distributors. Those, you know, those are the people who get in mass quantities. You got manufacturers creating bags and jars and things like that, right? And then you have retail. You got stores that's getting these products going. And so it's really understanding about the entire process and understand where you want to fit in with it. But what it's afforded me is the ability to expand my network. So, you know, I've always been good at business and been able to connect. But ever since I became a ganjier, I talk to more people on a daily basis, and now I consult for people in different countries. I actually consult for a country, for a company in Canada called Morganics. They are more so a company that focuses on the health of your plant, so they don't grow or deal with marijuana like directly. But what they did was they created a formula for growers. So if you grow in a harsh climate, your plant will have a higher chance of success growing to completion. And so that company has been very successful in Canada, and they have hired me on as a liaison to bring them into America. So it has created relationships like that, you know, opportunities like that, in the cannabis space. You know, my friends are trying to get dispensaries. I'm internationally talking to people about their companies and things like that. So it just creates a bigger network for you, and you can do more of what you do. And when people come into this space, I tell them, don't try to be brand new into this space. Bring what you do into this space, right? Because if you never dealt with cannabis and you try to come in and you try to grow, you behind every grower that grow. But if you come in this space and you're a master accountant, you're the best accountant in the cannabis space. Now, while you accounting, you can still be learning how to grow or how to retail or how to do whatever you want to do. But bring your skill into the market so the value of our market goes up, because the people are the value, right? If I get a great accountant and I take him from the finance market and I bring him to the cannabis market, I took value from there and I brought it here. I ain't take no money. I took a person. Know what I mean? So we are the money is not, I'll pay that person whatever he wants or whatever she wants, you know, because our companies can't run without people.
Absolutely, absolutely. So now, with that understanding, let me ask you this question: what is it that drives you about wanting to be in this space?
Mm. Um, I guess it's a personal thing. I guess I had a personal vendetta against society. I feel like Society told me I had to stop doing weed or I was gonna fail. That was the theme. I had family members who told me to stop smoking. I had friends who told me to stop smoking. I had friends who stopped smoking, and I have no issues with the decisions that they choose to make. But I did not like society telling me that I could not succeed using this plant because I did not agree with that. And I couldn't imagine how many other people were being told how they think and how they feel on this plant. And so I made it a life's mission that no matter what I did, because people always see my intelligence, and because of that, I always knew I was going to be something. And so I said, I'm not going to ever stop smoking. I'm not going to ever. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to have jobs. I'm going to succeed. I'm going to progress, but I ain't going to ever stop smoking because I don't think that that's what they think it is. And so it's really just been a force for me to just prove you can be a good person. You can impact your community. You can be an educated person in college. You can do anything that's going on with this plant. Now, just like alcohol, you got to be careful, right? Truck drivers, you driving around in a a 56,000 pound vehicle, maybe you shouldn't smoke, right? So like there's intelligence that we want to use, right, when we're consuming and things like that. But we just want to make people feel better. That's my goal. There's people who smoke, and I want them to feel better about that decision. I don't want them to feel like they're bad people or they're wrong for doing that.
So you brought up a good point about driving while high, and
Hmm.
I definitely agree with you there. Let me ask you this: how do you feel about restrictions when it comes to age? Alcohol, you have to be obviously 21 to drink.
Hmm.
You know, should there be age limits on being able to purchase marijuana?
Yes, because it affects brain development. It it interacts with certain cells certain ways, and your brain needs certain times to develop. Your brain isn't fully functional until you're 26. So as you heard me say, I didn't start smoking until I was 19. I know people who do it a little bit younger. I'm not a brain specialist. So this is information I was given when I worked at cell with AT&T. Actual neuroscientist bought a phone from me, and she gave me a lot of information while she was there. But I do know the reason why people say I'm high is because it has an effect on you, right? And so depending on what you're doing, that effect can be great or that effect can be terrible, right? It's the same concept, right? So I really always felt like when cannabis did become legal, the easiest way to regulate it would be to do it like alcohol, because that way it would be a fast model we could copy. We can always go back and adjust it if we once we do research and see maybe at 18 the brain is developed enough, and then they can adjust the age, or maybe they say, you know what, it got to go up, like renting a car. You can't rent a car until you're 25. Doesn't matter how old you are, right? And so some things you just can't do until a certain age, and that I'm fine with that, right? As a person that's 34, I turned 35 on January 23rd. But before that, I couldn't run for any governmental office or anything like that. I've been too young. So there's things that we age people out of, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine. And the kids that want to do it, terrible, but they're going to do it anyway. So we put that in there to feel so people can know what's best for them. But we all have free will. We're all going to do whatever we want to do anyway. So safety.
So let's talk about some of the service related activities that you do as I said, I called you earlier a spiritual capitalist. Some of the work you do as far as giving back to the community. So share some of that with our listening audience as well. And then
So
we're going to talk about kind of why you feel that's important too.
absolutely. Because money makes things happen. And so for the people who make money, it's important for you to use it to make things happen for other people. And so because I know I'm pretty good at business, the first thing I do is incorporate a level of appreciation and understanding in the company. The reason why I got to incorporate appreciation is because, like you said earlier, you got employees that work with you. Employees are your most important commodity. And if you think an inventory product is more important than them, I can't work with you, you know? And so it's certain things I'm gonna learn as because I have an evaluation process just like everybody else. And so when I work with people though, because I have my charity culture change and because my services are pretty expensive, it is a lot easier to help out places and adjust the pricing that they're going to pay me instead of paying me my full rate. And so I kind of incorporate losses for myself in my business models so they create partnerships with my charity. And it's not always with my charity because there's charities that operate. I'm a part of other organizations like Bel Air. They have charity that's in Detroit and in Chicago. Bel Air is a cannabis company, but they have an entire network that they give back to as well. And so, you know, it's just all about helping people. African Americans in the inner city aren't the only people who were targeted with the war on drugs. Legacy farmers in California who are responsible for all that fire, all that gas people talk about. Well, they had helicopters hovering over their homes. They had kids ripped out. Some of the foster care kids that got into the system were from those farmers. So we've created a system in the Ganjier program with the company I consult with, Morganics. They have a crypto um, program where they sell these big blue jays, and it's an NFT. And for every big blue jay that's sold, 10% goes to the charities that are a part of the organization. And we give back to the VA Foundation, we give back to Culture Change, which is mine, and then we give back to legacy farmers. And so they've built in a 3-part give back system to assist with people who've been affected. This is just one company I work with. As you can see, my company above me, Culture Change, we are always focusing on ending poverty. And that's just more so educating people about money, about knowledge, and about their emotional state, you know, because most people don't even feel like they need a lot of money. Most people just want to feel like they're participating and feel like they have value in our system, you know. And so that comes with them learning a skill and using that skill to help progress our system forward. You know, everybody's useful. And so, like, I had a friend who listened to our podcast and they said, oh my God, I can't stop thinking about what's my purpose. And I said, that's hilarious because our purpose is the same thing. It's to create and help people. You just haven't figured out how you want to do that. And so, you know, once people figure out that skill, it helps them learn how to create. And once you create and get confidence, you'll start to co-create, right? And so that is it's all about the steps, understanding yourself. Like you said, business is spiritual. When you get better at business, guess what? You're going to get better at understanding yourself. But it also works in reverse. So if you learn about yourself in a little bit, you can get into business and you're going to understand that too. And so that's why I love spiritual capitalism, because it is one and the same. It's like business was put, it's supposed to be like our physical way to wealth. That's really what it is. It's supposed to be here for our physical abundance. And if you don't understand that, you're going to keep just being an employee and feeling like your owner is just against you. And they not. They just found their purpose and they found how to automate their systems and create that. And you're a part of that, not against it. You're an employee, you're a part of that. And so, you know, it's again, that goes into appreciation. When I got a company, I tell my employees, yes, y'all work for the company, as do I. But we work together. You know what I mean? And they feel appreciated. I let them talk. I let them make decisions, and I let those decisions go in front of mine sometimes. You got to do that. Even if you got 1,500 employees, you got to do that. Go and let them feel heard. Go and meet your employee, you know, things like that. And so, you know, man, it's all good work, man. I really do. I enjoy it, man, because you'll be surprised. Most people who make a lot of money, once you buy stuff, you know, get your, you know, the house, the car, you know, your jewelries and stuff like that. All else there is to do with your money is travel and help people, you know. So it's not really hard, you know.
And see, that's that word help again.
That's it.
I hear that word. Now, Culture Change.
Mm.
That's nonprofit, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now you do all your philanthropic work through the nonprofit, all your service work through the nonprofit. Is that a correct statement?
I actually no. I have a financial service company called Royalty Financial Services. That's the company I made to get rich with my financial knowledge, right? Culture Change is the company I created to go back to communities that don't have my knowledge, and I give it to them for free.
Mm.
So because companies pay me, I have money, and then I can go and educate people and they don't have to pay me. All right. And so that's it. And then I have other professionals who love the model. And so if I can help them get paid too, right, then they would give their skills to people for free as well. So I have a relative who specializes in web design. And so for local artists independently, he's about to start creating websites completely for free where they can share their music for and for a certain amount of song, you'll be able to load a certain amount of songs completely for free. So you'll have a website, you'll have a place where you can send people to your music and you don't have to pay for that. Um and and it's crazy, man, because a lot of people just need exposure, or just need a little bit of help and they don't know where to go for it. And so, it's about creating and sharing, man. That's how we help people.
That's powerful. That's what's critically important. I believe that life is built on service in the context that we put on this earth to be service to others. Like when you pray for a blessing, it's
Mm.
not going to come from some magical, mystical source out of the air. It's going to come from a human being in some
Yes,
form or
sir.
fashion.
Yes,
I
sir.
remember one day when I ate this food more often when I was in Baltimore early in my real estate career, I would go to McDonald's and I would grab food to eat while I drove, because I felt that that was the best way to maximize my time I eat while I drive.
Mm.
Just one day I decided to get two hamburgers and didn't like the first hamburger, but I'm driving down the street and I happen to see a man holding a sign up. And the sign said, I would love a fresh hamburger, fresh hot hamburger, right? And I'm saying to myself, I actually have a fresh hot hamburger. So I was able to pull over, give that gentleman that hamburger that was out there asking. Now he wasn't just asking for money;
Mm.
he asked specifically for a hamburger, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
was able to give that man that. Now you can't tell me that man didn't look at that situation as a blessing from God, because I do. That everything was lined up for that. I see homeless men all the time in the city I'm in.
Mm.
Pretty much every corner, someone's panhandling in some form or fashion.
Mm.
So if you're going to give somebody money every time someone's asking for money, you pretty much would just be doing it every traffic light in my city, right? I'm sure it's similar like that in other cities as well. But my point
Mm.
I'm making is I was a vessel, I was a tool for that man's prayer.
Mm.
And I understood that. I operate on that same frequency. That's why I believe that we are brought here for service. How we
Absolutely.
serve depends on what skills, what our strengths, what our weaknesses, what we learn, our competence, those things that we get throughout our lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
right? But we must serve in some capacity. So that's why I admire what you're doing with culture change. The fact that you say I make money over here, but then this is how I do my service work through this nonprofit. So I don't have to charge. Now, do you find yourself working with a lot of inner city youth, or is there a particular population of people that you want to serve through culture change?
I at Culture Change, we focus on the problem areas specifically in the inner city. So drug addiction, homelessness, drug dealing, um, gang violence. The reason being is because I think they are all part of economics. And so being that I understand economics, I feel like I have a way to explain why they're doing what they're doing to them. And nobody else has been doing what I'm doing. And so like you just said, right? You seen a homeless person, the sign said I got a hamburger. But what that person really needed was a skill. Because once he got a skill, he could put that sign down and he go get an abundance of hamburgers. He didn't just have to have your one. And then he made everybody who seen him that day feel like you did. You were the one who had the hamburger. Imagine every person that's seen that man and didn't have the hamburger, and how did they feel? See, sometimes we always feel bad about the person that we're seeing, and we're not even realizing that we're making ourselves feel bad, but they're the ones doing something wrong. Because when you stop moving, when you stop creating, you're not being a productive part of society. And so we're creatures of duality. I feel bad for them, but to be honest, I don't want kids copying that. I don't want them to know that you can be homeless. I don't want them to know that you can be a panhandler. Some of them are only that because they know they can be. They know that we are designed to be good people. And if I happen to have something on me, I will give it to you. I'm so happy people created credit and debit because I don't have cash. Because I be giving my cash away. One time I gave a homeless nigga, I'm sorry, a homeless person $300, and my boy, he was like, bro, why you just gave him $300? You know what he about to do with that? I said, no, I don't, but I know he's going to enjoy that more than me. And that made me, I did that because when I seen him, it made me feel bad. I wanted to feel better. And so I helped him and it made me feel better. So, it's funny. I help selfishly. I help because nothing makes me feel better than to help people, you know? And then most people need help, but they're not good at asking. So when you come and help, you didn't help you and them because they didn't have to ask and they needed it. You know what I mean? And so it's just that's my mission, man. My mission is to respect people, help people, and understand every form of poverty there is, because poverty is a mindset. And once you understand that, man, and it's not just the positive talking, it's the belief in who you want to be, and then it's going to make you have actions, and you're going to do things based on that thought that made you want to be that person. And when you do those actions, then you'll have things that person you thought about being has. That's how I became the person I am today. I had in my idea, I want to end poverty, and I had friends tell me that I couldn't do it, and I came up with a plan for it, and then I execute. And then people with money start approaching me and saying, why are you doing that? And I said, because it needs to be done. And they say, I like that attitude. Let's have a meeting. Then I talked to them about my financial acumen. So they're like, oh, you're not just the normal guy that's fighting for just, you actually know about money, and you know how to create markets, and you understand capital. And so, I'm an asset to my community. And how you influx money is you share your value and you add value. So every time I teach a community what I know, I add value to that community. Those people are going to raise up, they're going to make more money, and they're going to be more valuable to our society. I don't even have to really do much but tell people stuff. We're all skilled. Once they focus on one thing and get a team, they, I'm telling you, over the next 5-10 years, all of our cities, Chicago, Detroit, Trenton, Philadelphia, Oakland, Houston, Louisiana, Atlanta, all of these places, if you go there, you ride through a certain area, you're going to want to disassociate with our culture because of that area. But you're not supposed to do that. They struggling. We're supposed to go there and help them. Say, yo, how can I help you? You're trapped. What can I do for you? You feel me? And that's what I do. I go around, I talk to my people, I say, what can I do to help you? If they say nothing, I leave. If they say I need this, I help them. It's as simple as that. And so that's what I do. That's how I go about it. And always respecting everybody I'm around, because I'm in there, I travel. So I'm in their areas, you know what I mean, when I go. So it's always best to be respectful when you're far from home, but you should just be respectful all the time.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's definitely commendable that you approach your purpose. See, I look at that as your purpose. We look at purpose and we define it a little differently. I look
Mm,
at purpose as how you serve.
mm.
You look at it as business, and you can, say business is how you serve, but I think service is a little bit more than just uh,
Make
profits,
money. Yes.
right? It's about impact. It's about
Yes.
making a difference in people's lives, and it's about being able to have someone view their lives differently as a result. So that's the ultimate impact.
Mm.
It's one way, like you said, I gave the gentleman a hamburger. Now, how he felt about that hamburger, I don't know. I mean, he may have eaten the hamburger and said it was great, tasty, saw that hunger pain that was there for the minute, and then he might have been there next week with the same sign later that day, the next day the same sign, and only saw that saw that hamburger that hunger pain for that minute, or it might have told that gentleman, you know, I'm going to change my sign today. Some probably told him, instead of asking for money, instead of saying help, I need money, I'm going to specifically write out I need a hamburger, and I'm
Mm.
going to pray on that, and then I come through with an actual hamburger.
Mm.
And then that may actually manifest a different energy within them that said, okay, if I can do that, then I could do something else. So let me sit here and begin to put my energies towards something else, right? So
Yeah.
all those things, what I call infinite possibilities, right?
Mm.
That you can have an impact on someone's life
Mm.
if you come with the intent of love. So
Mm.
that was my intent in the day is love. I actually operate with the intent of love. And that's how I really define myself as a spiritual capitalist, because that's what I err on. I don't err on the side of what's the most profitable way of looking at this. It's I want to bring love to the situation, and what manifests out of that is going to manifest from that,
Mm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
then I'm going to learn from that and build upon that.
Mm.
Now, my role, I believe in life, is not to go out and work with every homeless person, but I do believe there are people who are and see that as their purpose in life. And those are the people who I want to empower. I want to empower the person who says, that's what I want to do. I want to go out here and I want to get all these homeless people off the street. When I connected with you, one of the things that I found to be very intriguing and in alignment was you wanted to end poverty, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
your goal. So that's a lot of things we can begin to do around that initiative,
Mm.
around that kind of ideal. We can brainstorm ways to end poverty. Do we want to end poverty in the city? And you came up with, like, I believe it's three different forms of poverty, or was
Yes.
it
Yep.
three
Three.
different forms of poverty, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you do a lot of that with your education programs, but your energy that you give off, you're a person that I believe brings value to the conversation. You bring value and energy to the people you meet. And that's what I really wanted to have people see within this particular podcast, what the behaviors of a spiritual capitalist may be. Now, ideology, we may, from an ideological standpoint, we may disagree about different ways we view things just because of how we've been brought up, things we've read, things we've been exposed to, etc. But the behavior is what matters at the end of the day. Like I tell folks, I don't judge a person as a person. What I do judge is behaviors, because in a moment, a person's behaviors can be whatever it is based on the circumstances that happen. And I can't judge that because, that is what we're going to do. But your behaviors can change and you can learn from your behaviors. And that's what I advocate. And I hope everybody who's listening will see the value in looking at people's behaviors and not the individual going forward. So I think if we begin to look at people from that context, it gives us a different perspective to see people through.
Absolutely. And in our lifetime, we've seen people targeted and judged for some of the most simplest and dumbest things. And the issue with it is we are not designed to be judged. I say respect, right? I say I go into a community, I respect them. That wasn't the correct word. It is love. Love is the highest vibration, and what I told you earlier, we are not designed to move. And when we show love, it is hard for the people around not to give it back. It's a vibration. It's like a dance. If I see you doing it, it makes me want to do it because that's what we're designed for. Even if you think you don't want to, your body's going to go against what you think because that's what you was designed for. And so when you operate in love, you actually are safer. You know what I mean? You understand things a little bit better. People are willing to understand you a little bit better. My friends be like, how you be riding around in an Audi in the hood, don't nobody rob you? But like, because you still thinking just about money. Man, them
Mm.
people see my value. You know what I
There
mean?
you go. There you go.
You know what I mean? And so, it's just, we had, like you said, a lot of the same principles. And We're attracted to the people who have the same principles. I be on YouTube. It's funny. I thought when I made a bunch of money, I was going to escape, wasn't going to talk to nobody, watch nothing. I want to learn and watch more people now. You know what I mean? I want to know more interesting people, more. So there's so many interesting people that don't think what they do is interesting, so they don't show people.
Mm.
And we have shows like Let's Show, Who's Got Talent and stuff, and that's just a fraction of the things people can do. We just haven't seen it. And so I want those people who don't have that confidence, because to me that's the trick. Confidence. That's the secret word. Confidence is attractive to men. Confidence is attractive to women. People be like, yeah, what you really like about him? Is because he ain't that cute. Oh, no, man, it's the confidence, man. It's a way that I move when I know truth. It's a confidence level I move with. You can't get me to fake stray from my thought process. You know what I mean? And that's how fitness trainers move, right? People like, oh, girls like them because they're in shape. Nah, man. He got a thought process. He got discipline. It's more than just being in shape. And so when people understand success, it's the same. It's the same principle. It's the same thing that's attraction. You know, it helps people with everything, man. It'll help your relationships. It'll help your life. You know what I mean? And so the problem we do is divide everything. Well, I do this for business and I do this at home. Stop doing that. You're learning principles at work that's gonna help you be a better person when you go home. Like to separate the two is pointless, and it helps you enjoy it, right? Like if I go to work and I'm going to work with my coworkers, but me, I go to work with my family. I have fun going away. It's just a trick transition for me. It's not like I'm transitioning from home to work. And when you trick your mindset like that, it's easier to become an entrepreneur.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as we conclude today's show, definitely want to thank you, Larry. You know what I'm saying, for who you are, for being a person that you are, for understanding that value is something that we want to bring to the world. It's one of my core principles. I tell folks I have 7 core principles, and value is one of them. Value is a form of creating value. When you create value, people are attracted to you. People see the value having you in their world, and things in your life can definitely be different. But one of the things I want to end with is this point as relates to spiritual capitalism, because we advocate spiritual capitalism to stop the hate and divisiveness in today's world by adopting this ideology and focus on building more fully human connections. We got to begin to see each other as human beings, not so much as a group. When we see each other as a group, that's where the divisiveness comes in, because you begin to bring to your mind all of the biases, whether they're biases you experience or biases you read and somebody else experienced and put in your head about that individual, about that particular group. When you see a person as an individual, then you begin to see that person as a human being, and then you can begin to build along those lines and let love be the energy that you all come together on. So hopefully people feel that spirit. Hopefully people resonate with this messaging. That's what this show is all about. So we're gonna go ahead and close out. Larry, again, I want to thank you for joining me on the Spiritual Capitalist Show today, bringing energy, teaching me about uh, again the uh, Ganjier.
There we go. There we
Yeah,
go.
Ganjier. So I learned that word. My goal is learn something new every single day. Definitely learn something about that. Learn that it's a new movement that's happening, and people need to look up what a Ganjier is. Definitely want to connect with you about that. Share your contact information so folks can get with you who want to learn more about that and how they can be more involved with that movement for close out.
Absolutely. You can absolutely go to ganjier.com actually. And you'll be able to read up on the program. You'll be able to sign up. There is a cost, but if you are from a disadvantaged area, they are willing to work with you, just like any other program. And it is the fast track to meeting CEOs and people who are actually building the cannabis space, man. So if it's something that you really want to do, even on all social media platforms, you can find us now. Just type in Ganjier, Instagram, Facebook, and we'll pop up. And stay in tune and see what's going on in the cannabis space. And if you're a person out there that's looking to just get a better understanding of your finances, and you just would like to have a money consult, you can reach me, Larry Paul, on Facebook. Instagram is Ultimate Understanding. Royalty Financial Services is the company, so you guys can also reach me there. But I wear so many hats. Sometimes people just want to catch up with Larry. You know what I mean? So,
Absolutely.
so feel free to reach out to me anyway, and I try to get back as soon as possible. And King, thank you as always for inviting me. As you learn, I learn, we grow, and so this is all about us being better, and I appreciate it.
Appreciate you. I appreciate you, listening to the audience, for listening to another episode of the Spiritual Capitalism Show. We're going to continue to bring these episodes and have these discussions, and hopefully we can bring a better world and live a better world based on love. Thank you all.